Ari, I am pumped. I am headed to Norman, Oklahoma this week to see Auburn and Oklahoma in the Subplot Bowl. The context of this game has changed since the preseason. We thought this might be a loser leaves town match between Brent Venables and Hugh Freeze. We were talking about it at the beginning of the season. Now it appears that I was very high on Auburn. You were to a lesser degree. You were very high on Oklahoma. I was to a lesser degree. But our faith in them has been rewarded. They do both seem to be much, much better. And what looks like now we're going to see is a couple of really competent teams playing a high leverage game in a big spot.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is still a big deal. Because you
probably a bigger deal.
Like if Oklahoma would have lost to Michigan, it might have been a little bit more pressure filled. But like if Brent Venable loses to Auburn with Jackson Arnold on the sidelines, you don't think that we're going to be right back where we started with him? Like,
maybe
right out the window.
Maybe. I think it depends on how it goes.
If Jackson Arnold comes to Norman and throws for 300 yards and they would lose, it's going to be a bloodbath. A bloodbath. Now,
and that's why I'm calling it the Subplot Bowl, because Jackson Arnold was Oklahoma's quarterback last year. He was the chosen one. He committed to Oklahoma 2 years in advance. It was all preordained. It was laid out that he was going to be the guy. He was going to succeed Dylan Gabriel. They were going to then ascend, take the next step, move into the SEC, become an elite SEC program. And they were freaking terrible on offense last year. Now, part of that is the fault of Brent Venables, who has admitted he made the wrong hire at offensive coordinator when he hired Seth Luttrell to replace Jeff Lebby. He's now fixed that. He hired Ben Arbuckle, who brought his quarterback, John Mateer, from Washington State. It's fixed. Jackson Arnold, meanwhile, showing that stories for quarterbacks don't have to have sad endings when they don't work out at first, goes to Auburn, which was in need of a competent quarterback. And he and Hugh Freeze, thus far, seem to be working pretty well together.
Yeah. The game is between two teams that I think are pretty good. And I think that whoever wins the game moves into really good territory. Right.
Yep.
Because it is interesting, especially like as you start looking at like the bottom half of AP top 10 that comes out or polls. When you start getting in the 10 to 15 to 20 range, there are a lot of really interesting teams that you think are good but are still uncertain of. I think both of these teams fall in that category. I think like Utah's in that category. I think that like Mizzou's in that category. There are teams that are undefeated right now that have, I mean, maybe Oklahoma to a lesser extent because they already beat Michigan. But again, we're not quite sure what Michigan is. Like we're really trying to figure out what these teams are and who they are. And if you look at the subplots, that makes this thing tantalizingly juicy. But if you look at the football aspect of it, this is an important game for two programs who are dying to get back into a conference race, to get back into the national picture. And they're both ascending at the same time, and they're butting heads very early on in the year. And I wonder if this game is a fork in the road game where the winner goes right, the loser goes left. Now, maybe it'll go like this, and then we'll weave back
that's
around.
The thing. But one of them could really be good and show it. They both could really be good, and we'll find that out later. They both could be kind of fool's gold, and we find that out later. The third one I said I think is the least likely possibility. I think at least one of these teams is really good, possibly both of them. I can't wait to see this game because, we've talked about the improvements on Auburn's offensive line and how this may be one of the better offensive lines Auburn's had in the last 10 years. They will be tested against Oklahoma's defensive front. Did you see Oklahoma dominate Michigan's offensive line?
Of course.
Auburn's going to get tested there. Oklahoma's offensive line is about to be tested against Keldrick Falk, one of the best edge rushers in the country. Now, we saw Baylor slice up Auburn's defense, but it may be that Sawyer Robertson just slices up everybody's defense.
Yeah, he's
John Mateer is not the guy you want to see if you got problems.
Yeah, and Deion Burks is starting to come into his own, groove. That was a guy that we were pretty high on in the offseason. He's been a major part of their offense. I know that they're still trying to figure out who their running backs are. Their true freshman looks really good. But It's a really important game because it's not just the football. It's the feelings bowl. Okay. And I love feelings.
Oh, we know.
If you have a person that you punted on, right or wrong, come back into your house and beat you during a time in which you feel great. It's one thing if he comes back and beats you when your team stinks. It's another thing if he comes back and beats you when you're feeling good. You know, I went on this whole rant about how Tennessee can finally let go of their ex-girlfriend who lives on the West Coast and is fat now. Like, this girlfriend is like coming to the same party that you're at.
And got a freaking glow up.
She looks hot. Like, she looks hot, okay? And she's coming to your party on the arms of another man. And you have to, like, live in that world. Now, after the party's over, are you going to be happy or sad? That's how that's how we're going to find out. But this is a football bowl and a feelings bowl if I've ever seen one. We've been circling this freaking game on the calendar since the middle of the summer.
Oh, yeah. No, this is exactly what we've wanted. This is everything you want in one of those early season, multiple tentacled SEC games. And again, this spreads out from here because Auburn goes and plays Texas A&M. Oklahoma has Texas coming down the pipe. There are so many subplots here, so many ways this can go. And I am just so excited. This is what you wanted when you joined the SEC, Oklahoma. This is what you signed up for. This is what you wanted. You're about to get a real taste of it because you never got a real taste of being a good team in the SEC last year because everything fell apart so quickly. Now you're getting the taste of what that's like when you're like, wait a second, the Texas game's coming up. That's the massive one, but this feels huge. And you're going to get a few of those.
Just so you know, Oklahoma fans, I went to the park on Sunday with my daughter for a Dads and Donuts event from our daycare.
How many donuts did you house?
I had 0, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing restraint.
Like, we're not giving it back. We're down some weight. We're not gonna find it again. But a lot of people there are Texas people. Obviously, I'm in Dallas, and a lot of people went to Texas. They're pretty down in the dumps. And I heard 4 people say today that they might lose to Oklahoma. So you're in their heads. Keep it going.
And guess what? If you think for 1 second about Texas this week, not you fans, but if your team does, you will lose. Don't think about Texas this week. Focus on what's coming down the pipe because this is a good Auburn team. It is Jackson Arnold. It is the guy you threw away like trash coming back to try to kick your ass. And you have John Mateer, who, by all accounts, seems to be an upgrade. But we're going to find out for real on Saturday. And Ari, I'm going to be there. Enjoy your daughter's birthday party.